Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank you both for giving us this opportunity when you presented this bill to us. But I am extremely disturbed and concerned, like my colleagues and on both sides of the aisle, as you just heard just now, the impact that this bill will have. First and foremost, as my ranking members very eloquently talked about, the fact that we have not had due process on some of these components of this bill as far as public hearings are concerned is disturbing. I will not be redundant and continue in that vein of thought. But I do have concerns on a lot of different components, and I will just address that part, and I hope I will be able to hear answers from either of the two chairs. The hospital tax. I understand that we have collected from the hospitals, and then we will be giving back to the hospitals. There's a formula there, and obviously the federal government is involved with what they will give us as well. But as I understand this, at the end of the day, the state will be keeping from what it has received and what it has given back to the hospitals to the tune of about $160 million and change in the next 2 years. Are those numbers right, Mr. Chairman?
Senator Funker.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not certain on the number you've cited. You will note from the adjustments that have been provided to you that in the second year, $56 million has been added back to reduce the amount taken. However, in terms of the rebasing that is being done here, that has not been done, I believe, since 2009.
Right.
And that the formula for sending dollars back, because this is a federal exchange, if you will, that will be done now on a prorated basis. So whatever a hospital pays, they'll get back on a prorated basis that ratio. And that will hopefully provide some relief to the hospitals from what they will be paying in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But in what the hospitals
Representative Srinivasan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But the difference between what the hospitals have paid in terms of taxes and what is returned to them after their basis is readjusted for 2013, as I see this in the language, the net result, as I understand it, will be the hospitals will get less than what was put in through this tax process. And that is very concerning to me, Mr. Chairman. The reason is the impact, the negative impact the hospitals will have as you reduce. It sounds good that the hospitals make money, and so why don't we go after them and reduce what we return back to them? But we have to keep in mind the services the hospitals provide, the services to those who cannot afford, services in terms of education, services in terms of the various charitable contributions. So the hospitals play a significant role in our lives, in what they give back to our community, what they give back to our citizens. And cutting back what we give them and holding back, and so that little more money, whether it be 100 or 110 or 150, after the formula is readjusted, comes back into the general fund, in my opinion, Mr. Chairman, is not the right way to go, because services will be impacted. Those services that are impacted will impact you, will impact me, will impact all of us who are families that have to use the hospital services. And one day or the other, as we all know, we will need the hospitals around to take care of us. And so cutting back these services is a big concern. And also, I know we are the Finance Committee here, and look at the impact in terms of jobs. We've heard it loud and clear from our hospitals. The moment you cut their services, cut their revenues, the impact is going to be they will have no other option, no other choice, like any other business, that they will have to do some layoffs. And that is the last thing that our state can afford at this particular point in time. So I'm really concerned about the impact on the hospital tax. I'm also very concerned, and I'll make myself brief. I know there are a lot of people who want to talk on this bill today, on the transfer funds. It is my understanding, Mr. Chairman, that if we look at the tobacco funds, when the settlement was made and that fund was created, it was for a purpose. And that purpose was to educate, so we continue these cessation programs, whatever they are, throughout the entire state. And as I see this, in the next 2 years, what we are doing is we are eliminating $12 million from the settlement fund and am I right in that, Mr. Chairman, that we are taking away money from this settlement fund for a very important purpose? We are making progress, as I'm sure you know, and I'm very happy about that the tobacco smoking rates have reduced in our state as they have in our nation. But for us to continue to make the gains that we are making and making sure that we continue to capitalize on the good work that we are doing, the funds are needed. And we cannot be transferring funds that were meant for purpose A into the general fund so that in some form or the other we balance the budget. The same thing applies not only to the tobacco settlement fund but also to the Smart Start program. There's a reduction in the money that goes into those funds as well. And that is a concern, the constant raiding of these special funds and putting that money into the general fund for other reasons. Mr. Chairman, what I would like to see, hopefully, as we heard, as you are working on this with leadership as we move forward, is to make sure that these concerns of ours are addressed and these key components of the tobacco fund is reinstated. And my final point I would like to make is in the same vein of thought when it comes to medicine, from the hospital to tobacco smoking, the negative impact of gambling. I know we are trying to keep up with the Joneses, and if Massachusetts has a casino, we are trying to be on par with them. But that comes with a price, a heavy price that we have to pay. When Keno was initially passed, I know we had put aside a certain amount of funding to take care of the negative impact of gambling. Mr. Chairman, is that amount that had been put aside in the past, is it still there, Mr. Chairman?
Representative, it certainly is and will continue to be. It should also be noted for the record to you that when we did pass Keno 2 years ago, there was a diversion of funds from the Connecticut Lottery for gambling cessation. The Connecticut Lottery, even though Keno was vetoed and failed, that they continued with those payments even beyond that to the tune of plus over $1 million. So there's a strong commitment by this state and by the Connecticut Lottery to continue in that in that money transfer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the clarification. And am I to understand that funds that is there for that particular purpose will remain for that purpose and will not be diverted somewhere else, as we have seen in the tobacco settlement funds?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your answers. I appreciate them very much.
Yes.